Premier League clubs, this is from The Athletic, Premier League clubs have voted against a proposal to fast-track a ban on loan moves from players moving into England's top flight between associated clubs in the January transfer window. The Athletic reported earlier this month that all 20 clubs were to vote on the proposed ban. The vote at the meeting at the Churchill Hotel in London today needed at least 2/3 majority. So you needed to get 14 clubs to vote in favour of this proposal to ban loans between associated clubs. But only 13 clubs voted in favour of it, meaning that the motion failed. And in theory, let's say, and to use an example, let's say Ruben Neves came from Saudi to Newcastle on loan. That would be fine under this because it was voted down. But it gets a little bit more interesting. Let me tell you the reported 7 clubs that have blocked this from happening. And then it becomes a little bit more interesting. So, the Times Sport have said that the 7 clubs that voted against the proposed ban of Premier League clubs signing players from other clubs they're related to are Manchester City, Newcastle United, Chelsea, no surprises there. Those 3, absolutely, I expected them to vote in favour of keeping the status quo. Forest, Sheffield United, Wolves, and here's the last one, Everton. So, Everton were one of the clubs that voted against the idea of the multi-club ownership clubs being allowed to send their players back. So here's what I hope happens right now. I hope that Ruben Neves comes from Saudi Arabia to Newcastle and scores the goal that relegates Everton. I hope that happens and they'll have absolutely nobody to blame and nobody will listen to any of their whining and crying and bitching because they voted for that. They voted to allow that to happen. So, fuck them. That's shocking. City, Newcastle and Chelsea, I totally understood. They all have relationships and feeder clubs and all this stuff. I knew that they were going to vote that way. Forest, not really surprised. Don't they have relationships with Olympiacos and stuff like that? So again, no surprise to see that their owner be looking to keep that possible avenue open. Sheffield United, I need your help on. Sheffield United, are they part of a multi-club ownership model? I know that they've recently enough been taken over, right, in the past while. So I'm not really sure what the situation is there. And Wolves, well, look, we know the Wolves' connection to a lot of Portuguese, preferably George Mendes type players. So I guess I'm not really surprised to see Wolves' name there. But Everton, I am. I'm very surprised that Everton have voted to keep that open. Because they look like they're the swing vote in that for me. If they needed 14, they got 13, and Everton was one of those clubs that voted to keep it as it was. I hope it comes back to bite them in the ass because they won't be able to moan. Their fans won't be able to go on TalkSport or anybody and start talking about conspiracy theories because them fuckers will have been part of the problem. Sheffield United are owned by a Saudi royal too. So, see what's already happened? Those floodgates that were open previously are now stopping this motion being knocked back. So, by letting all these vultures, for want of a better phrase, in through the Premier League gates and to own these clubs, now they can't even block it anymore because they're not getting enough clubs needed to stop this. At 14, they only managed to get 13. So, I guess as of right now, there's nothing to stop shenanigans. And yeah, welcome to modern football, my friends. Genuinely, really shocked to see Everton's name on that list. Elliott goal versus Northern Ireland. Sweet, we like that. How are Sheffield United horrible if they're owned by a Saudi royal? What? Who said they were horrible? The whole lot of this is horrible. The idea that let's say Newcastle can take any player playing in the Saudi league that's owned by the PIF and drop them in. Like, there's nothing now to stop, let's say, Al Hilal buying Kylian Mbappe, Erling Haaland and Gavi, bringing them to Saudi Arabia and loaning them straight to Newcastle. Nothing to stop that. That's why this is a joke. That's why this vote today was important. Because now all bets are off, apparently. So if Ruben Neves does indeed come into Newcastle from Saudi Arabia, it's within the rules. And it sickens me, to be honest with you. The state-owned club model should be banned from football. Mate, I don't want to be the lad that keeps coming on saying I told you so, but I've told you so. I was one of the few people for years speaking up against this state-backed ownership model. I was one of the few people for years banging and screaming about Manchester City and what they're at. And I was just told to shut up. And I'm salty. And I'm bitter. And I'm jealous. And all this shit. Now the chickens are starting to come home to roost. And people are starting to see why I was speaking up. And why I was worried about the health of the English game. Because this stuff is disgusting. It's disgusting. Welcome to the end of the beautiful game. Yep. And the Premier League have allowed this to happen on their watch. So again, I'm going to ask the question. Who's looking out for football? Who's looking out for the Premier League? Who's looking out for the fans? Who's protecting the game? Because it wasn't on my watch that this was allowed to happen. It wasn't on your watch. It was on the people running English football that allowed this to happen. And make no mistake, this didn't happen without a little leaning on, a little sprinkling of opinion, shall we say, by governments and those in power. Don't let anybody fool you. This is more than just a footballing decision. I've said this many, many times. Look at where the money in London is coming from. That gives you a great indication of the state of play. What I mean by that is, it used to be Russian money, oligarch money. That money is all of a sudden bad money, so that money had to go away. What's come in to replace that money? Middle Eastern money, Saudi money, Dubai money, Abu Dhabi money. All come in to buy up all them Kensington properties and to invest in green technology in the UK. And why are they doing that? Why are they doing it? They're not doing it for the good of their health. They're doing it for influence. They're doing it for soft power. They're doing it so that this shit can happen. It is all linked. It is all disgusting. And it is all happening right in front of our eyes.